And we're definitely going to touch on the 401k plan. But we're also going to touch on the other guys, your defined benefit plans, known as pension plan. The new kid on the block is the cash balance plan. So we're going to cover all of these. Again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate. Stop us and we'll answer your questions. So why are we talking about retirement plans? Why is now the time that you should be talking to your clients about qualified plans? Well, as Ralph mentioned earlier, these are some of the lowest tax brackets we've ever seen. Which way are taxes going? Up or down?
Up.
Exactly. How does the government make money? And we all know the government is bankrupt, right? So the government only makes money by printing it or raising taxes. So now is the best time to start talking about how to save money, how to get those tax deductions, how to build for retirement. You know, originally, the way the government started having the private sector look at and think about retirement was Social Security. What year did Social Security come about? Does anyone know?
34, 35.
Excellent, yeah. 34 and 35. So it first came out, and then finally, the first person who ever received Social Security was actually a woman. And she was only paid into Social Security for 2 months. But she was right there at the cusp, so she got it. All right, so after Social Security, did we have either 401k plans? Okay, so when did pensions come out?
73.
Actually, pensions,
Oh, the longer than that.
yeah, pensions are the old guys. Pension plans have actually been around since the late 1800s.
Yeah, the first pension plan was the Germans in 1889, the best public pension plan.
So, same with America. In America, B&O Railroad, and I know this is not monopoly, but seriously, B&O Railroad came out with the very first pension, followed by American Express in 1889.
Wow.
Exactly. So, we're not reinventing the wheel here, right? These things have been around. So why aren't we using them? So pension plans, when they came out, most people worked careers. You worked for a company for 30 years, and that company took care of you with a pension. People don't work with the same company for 30 years anymore. We're actually going to talk about that because that's the advantage of doing pension plans these days. But also, people are living longer. It's more expensive to live longer. And you need to be able to retire correctly. Because it's not at what age you retire. It's at what income. Because if you can't afford to retire, guess what?
To work.
You're not going to retire, exactly. You're going to continue to work. So plans like these help make that a reality. They help you to retire. The government is trying to push retirement savings to the private sector. California is one of the states that is looking at creating those forced IRAs. Again, they're pushing retirement to the private sector because the government isn't there to fund retirement. Social Security is not meant to be your retirement. It's meant to augment your retirement plan. So what do these retirement plans do? Well, they help you build that nest egg. They give you those tax deductions. Also, a qualified retirement plan can give you tax-free retirement income. We'll talk about all of that. American National specializes in the small business market. It is an underserved market, and that's why we serve it. How big is the qualified retirement plan industry? What kind of assets are we talking about? Trillions.
Billions.
Trillions. 5 of them, plus. And it's growing every day. What happens if you could get 1% of that? Are you interested? Have I piqued your interest? It's not a small market. It is a huge market. You're in front of people every day. Is this not part of their financial planning? Is this not important? You should be talking to them about their retirement. We have a saying, you should make it a habit to mention pension. It's an underserviced market, and we need to be there, because guess what? If you're not talking to your clients about retirement plans, whose fault is that? It's yours. Your client doesn't know you can offer a retirement plan unless you tell them. You need to be talking to your clients. At American National, we specialize in the small business market. We specialize in 25 lives or less. So the smallest plan we'll do, one person. It's a single person plan. Whether it's a defined benefit plan or whether it's a 401k plan, we will do a plan with as few as one individual. Our sweet spot is 25 lives or less, but we will actually go to 100. If you have a client that has more than 100, we'll look at it on a case-to-case basis. So by all means, bring us everything, bring us all of your prospects, and we'll take a look at them for you. Today we're going to talk about your defined benefit plans and your defined contribution plans. As you can see here, they actually overlap. You can have both. You can have a defined benefit plan and a defined contribution plan. The most popular plan out there is the 401k plan, and it's not because everyone can spell it. It's because it is the most flexible. It meets most clients' budgets. Yes?
If somebody is working at a company as an employee, but also as an owner of another company, how do you integrate those two? If they want to do a defined contribution plan in the company that they're an owner in, they're not an owner in the other one, how does that get integrated?
Great question. So, in case you didn't hear, so Ralph's asking if I work for somebody and I have a qualified plan or I have a 401k plan there, but, I also have my own business on the side. Maybe I'm a consultant on the side. How do you do that? How do you have one with the company that you work for and one with the company that you own? So, in a 401k plan, there are limits. Some of those limits, you have to add them together, but some of them are separate. When we design the plan, we'll take that into account. We'll do all that back office work for you. So once we understand that the client has an existing plan, we'll make sure and account for that in the new design. In the profit sharing side, there is no limit. You can maximize both sides. If you do a pension plan, you can maximize that against the 401k plan because you're dealing with two different tax ID numbers. But again, you bring us the prospect, we'll design the plan. We'll take things like that into account when we design the plan.
Yeah, and let me just add on to Jonathan's explanation there. Really, in a 401k plan specifically, we're talking about specifically defined contribution plans. There's two ways for money to enter those plans. Employees, so those folks who work for the company, they can save away for their own retirement. So you as an employee, you can make a salary deferral. You can defer your compensation till later, deposit it into your retirement savings account, and then pull that money out later. Well, your employer can also provide you a retirement benefit as well. They can provide that in the form of either an employer match, which kind of indicates that they are matching what you put in, so it incentivizes employees to save away themselves, or they can give you a profit sharing or a non-elective contribution. That employer receives a tax deduction for giving you that retirement benefit. You can save away yourself, as I mentioned, that employee deferral bucket. But I get back to Ralph's question. If you're an employee of a corporation, you can always save away for your own retirement within that corporation. But let's say you also have another entity that you own. Well, you can create a tax deduction for that entity out on top of it. So you can save away as an employee, create a retirement plan on top of it for that corporation that you own, and create a tax deduction and save away in that second bucket as well. So you can't do both at the same time.
And it's advantageous to do both because one thing you know as a sole proprietor is taxes kill you. I mean, sole proprietors are always looking, well, everybody's always looking for a way to save on taxes. Tax time comes around, CPA tells them, oh, you gotta write a check to Uncle Sam. Well, wait a minute, you're my CPA, can't you help me save taxes? Everyone's asking, show me another way to pay less in tax. Nobody's knocking on your door and saying, hey, Jonathan, I don't pay enough in taxes.
Yeah.
Can you help me out?
Yeah.
Nobody does that, right? Everybody's looking for that next tax deduction. And that's what these plans can do. And these plans can do it better and in larger amounts than pretty much anything else you can get out there. So one of the neat things is, at American National, we do it all. Over here, this side, this is your defined benefit side. Your cash balance, your traditional defined benefit, your 412. Over here, this is all defined contribution. The new kid on the block over here is the Roth 401k, and we will be touching on the Roth 401k in depth in just a little bit. Also, you'll see on there our takeover. We will take over existing plans. If your client has an existing plan, we'll take it over. If you go and meet a client and your client has a life policy, you say, oh, okay, thanks, I'll go and find somebody else. No, If they have an existing life policy, you want to do what? You're going to review it, right? You're going to see if you can't help them. Just because they have a life policy, you don't walk away. You review that plan. You see if there's something better. Same thing. If they have a qualified plan, do not walk away. See if maybe we can create something better. We're going to talk about how plan design is very important, and Dominic, my partner, will touch on that in just a minute. Also, it doesn't matter what type of business entity you are. It used to be that you go to the CPA and say, oh, you're a C corporation, or oh, I'm sorry, you're a sole proprietor. As a sole proprietor, you cannot have a 401k plan. You can either have a SEP or a simple IRA. Those are the old rules. They don't apply anymore. So now it doesn't matter who you are. Even nonprofits, we set up 401k plans for nonprofits all the time. So just because they have a plan, just because they're a sole proprietor or a nonprofit, do not walk away. You should be talking to everybody about qualified plans. One of the neat things about American National is we are a turnkey solution. What I mean by that is you don't have to go and find a third-party administrator and then find out where you want to put the assets, and then find somebody who's going to help create the document, and then lastly, someone has to put it all together. So you're talking to 4 different people in 3 different time zones.
You know what else you're doing? You're paying 4 different entities as well.
Exactly. As Dominic has said, now you've got invoices from everywhere. I mean, you might as well just pull your hair out. At American National, we are a turnkey solution. We work on the 9th floor. Third-party administrator is on the 7th floor. Actually, our administrator, they're not our third. Our administrator is on the 7th floor. So if we have a question, if they have a need, yes, we're running up and down a lot of stairs. But the point is they're there in our home office. We are a turnkey solution. You're using our products. You're using our plan design. You're using our administrator.
So, John, just, our company uses them for our 401k plan, and I haven't had to do any of the administration. Lynn handles whatever needs to be handling, and it's a simple process. She's not trained to do payroll or anything like that, but she's able to use it, and it's been good. So when he says they're doing it, they're doing the full thing.
Your check's in the mail route.
Yeah, and thank you very much. And to that point, before today's over, I am going to challenge you about qualified plans. So stick around. All right, now we're going to talk about plan design.
Plan design. Good morning, guys. So Jonathan kind of gave you the explanation of the why, or you know, kind of the what, the overview. I'm going to dig a little deeper, just to kind of give you the how, more or less. So we're going to go into a little bit more plan design, a little more technical side of how these plans kind of come together. And as Jonathan mentioned, you know, it's a puzzle piece, but it's more like a building block. You know, so we're going to start with kind of the simplistic kind of concepts, and then we're going to build on that just a little bit. But my approach and my style is more of a discussion. So if I lose you at any point, stop me. You know, there's no reason for us to continue. If I lose you at step 1, no reason to go on to step 2. All right? So feel free, raise your hand, just blurt out whatever. You know, just open discussion here. So plan design. Plan design is really important in the sense that what we do is we try to customize to our clients' needs and objectives. Now, from designer standpoint, there's no point of us putting a client in something that's not going to be lasting long-term for them. As Ralph kind of pointed out, these qualified plans are designed to be in place for the perpetuity to run alongside that business. So they should be established for that long-term horizon. You know, they're supposed to last as long as that business is in existence. You know, so we want to make sure that we put them in something that's suitable specifically for them. That's where design and I would say our expertise, but kind of our technical knowledge comes into play. You know, so we want to sit down with that client. I shouldn't say sit down, but we want to discuss with that client and whoever their decision makers are. So this is kind of round 2 of beating up on CPAs a little bit here. And it's not about CPAs or combatants necessarily. We're in this game together. You know, what we're trying to create are tax deductions for that business owner. You know, so our goals are aligned. The question comes down to education and how can we get them the best tax advantage for them. Not just any tax advantage, but we want to put them in the best possible design for them. And that's where our customization and our design process kind of comes into play. So we'll start off with one of the ideas that most CPAs, kind of run to initially, and that's the SEP IRA. It's something that they're comfortable with, something that they're familiar with, and something that they utilize on a regular basis. But it's kind of narrow in thinking. A lot of times they think if they have a sole proprietor, independent contractor, one-man shop, that the only option for them, retirement savings-wise, is a SEP IRA. But we can take that same client and we can apply it to a 401k type of design and the benefits that come out of it. With the SEP IRA, a SEP IRA is basically one piece of a 401k plan. It's the employer putting money away for themselves and their employees. Look at here with this example, how a 401k can, has an advantageous kind of benefit to that particular client than just putting them in a regular SEP. And again, the employer contributions, tax deductible to the business. That means the business is never gonna pay taxes on it from a business standpoint. The employee who's receiving that benefit will pay taxes on it upon distribution. So take our first example here. We have a business under 50 years of age, making $50,000 a year. Now, from an employer contribution standpoint, and for you to get a tax deduction for it, there is limits, as Jonathan mentioned. And that limit is 25% of the total compensation of that business. In this case, it's just one person. Total compensation is the business owner's comp, $50,000. So the SEP IRA, they can take that 25% contribution, equates to $12,500. They can save that away for retirement. That's great, that's okay. But we can take that same client, we can put them in a situation of 401k plan where they can do that and more. So you see here, we have our employer contributions. They can make a profit sharing contribution of 401k plan. That's the equivalent to a SEP contribution. Same concept, same dollar amount, same limit, $12,500. But as an employee, so that's where that second bucket kind of comes in. So as a business owner, in a retirement plan, you have two hats, employee hat and an employer hat. Well, this employee hat is what we're gonna look at here, what we're gonna take advantage of. So from the employee side, they can make an employee contribution, a salary deferral, up to $19,000 if you're under the age of 50. You can put an additional $6,000, what's referred to as a catch-up contribution, if you're over the age of 50. So we can take the same particular business owner here, he puts in $12,500 as a SEP contribution. He also puts in an additional $25,000 as an employee contribution. So what we're not showing here, not only is the tax savings, increased 200% more, because he's able to put that $25,000 in as employee contribution. But what that employee contribution does, it reduces his personal income tax by that contribution that's going into the plan. So his business, the business income gets reduced by the $12,500. That's the employer contribution. But his personal liability, his personal income gets reduced by that employee contribution, or $25,000. So not only is his business paying less in taxes this year, he, on a personal level, is paying $25,000 less by that contribution that's going into the plan. So he's saving away $25,000 for his retirement, and he's reducing his tax liability personally by that same $25,000 contribution. So he's getting tax benefits on both sides, both as an employer and an employee, where the SEP IRA only allowed him to get those benefits from the employer standpoint. So we take a look at another illustration. This, the only difference is $100,000 income. So he's able to put in a little bit more from a profit sharing standpoint. So he's able to put in that $25,000 on both sides, both from in a SEP IRA and also in that 401k plan. And he still has the ability to save away on a personal level that $25,000. In this illustration, these are pre-tax dollars.
Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah.
Go back.
Go back. It's not that I'm nervous, I'm just a sweater, guys.
So
I had a question.
Yeah.
Are you mean to tell me that in the United States, a person, correct me if I'm wrong, from Washington, is 50 years old, makes $100,000, the employer can put $25,000, and he can put $19,000.
He could put $19,000 from an employee contribution standpoint, but because he's 50 or older, he gets to put in another $6,000 as a catch-up contribution for a total.
But the employer can put $25,000.
Correct.
Right. The employer can put in up to 25% of the total compensation
And that
of
would
the
be a
plan.
business deduction versus a personal deduction.
But remember, you have to put 25% for all.
Right, so you're right, the profit sharing contribution is equal to all, there's always a
You can't
caveat.
pick and choose which employees you want to.
You know, if you looked at it through comparability, there is a bit of play you have there. But the key takeaway here, one of the things we really want to show you about this is if you're walking in and your client has a SEP IRA, it's low-hanging fruit. Because over 95% of the time, I actually wanted to say 98, but the anti-business unit known as compliance said no, so I put 95. But the point is, if you run into somebody who has a SEP IRA, chances are, over 95% of the time, we can show them something bigger, something better, a larger tax deduction, saving more for retirement. So when you hear SEP IRA, you should think, oh, this is a great sale. Here's your opportunity to show them something better, to show them something more. This is an easy win.
And at this point, this isn't a situation where we're trying to pit, a retirement plan versus another. So in your case, if you have a business owner who's apprehensive about getting anything to the employees, then a retirement plan is probably not the best thing for them.
We tried talking at least with a 401k with a simple matching arrangement, because it's a hiring tool.
Yeah, the Safe Harbor 401k is your go-to in that scenario.
Right. And if that's what they're kind of interested in, then we'll explore those options. But what we're talking about here is a situation where, guys in, November, December, the CPA is trying to push a SEP IRA to them. They send them to us, we're like, hey, slow down, you can't do the SEP IRA, but let's explore this 401k option as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, as I talked about, the employee contribution of those examples were salary deferrals. They were pre-tax contributions. So you were able to put that money away before paying taxes on it. You pay taxes on that employee portion whenever you pull it out. But with a 401k plan, with our platform, we also offer the ability to save away on an after-tax basis by making what's referred to as Roth 401k contributions. So tax deductions now, you pay the taxes on them now. Tax-free growth at retirement. So those contributions go into your retirement savings plan. They're invested however you choose. Those earnings, as long as that money is in there, seasoned, so to speak, for 5 years or more, when you pull that distribution out, as long as it's a qualified distribution, both the contribution and the earnings come out tax-free. So can it be done? Yes. And the beauty of doing it in a 401k plan, we'll take a look here, are the limits from a contribution standpoint and the fact that you don't have those compensation income restrictions either. So let's take a look here. Traditional 401k plan. You can make pre-tax contributions from the employee standpoint. Qualified distributions are taxed. Now, so that's pre-tax money. You got to pay taxes on it eventually. Uncle Sam's going to get his cut eventually. So you're going to pay taxes whenever you pull it out. Contribution limits, $19,000 plus that $6,000 catch-up. Roth 401k. After-tax contributions, so you're paying taxes on it today. Goes along with that theory. Theoretically, for most regular employees, not those high earners, they're probably going to be in a lower tax bracket when they retire than they are today. So let's pay taxes on it, get out of the way now. But the difference between this Roth 401k and a Roth IRA is the fact that instead of you only being limited to $6,000 in a Roth IRA, you can put in up to $25,000 as a Roth contribution into a Roth 401k plan, or any of our 401k plans, I should say. But if you check it out over here at the very bottom, not only is it the difference in the contribution limit, but if you make over a certain amount, you can't even contribute to a Roth IRA. Whereas in a Roth 401k, there are no income restrictions. You can make $1 million and still be able to take advantage of this. I forgot we had graphics popping up on there. Should have went a little further. So let's take a look from a contribution standpoint, what some of those benefits at retirement may equate to. And again, we're taking an assumption that you're going to retire at the age of 65, and we're looking at 5.5% rate of return. We have an owner at age 50, or age 40 rather, making $65,000, he's going to defer $19,000 as a Roth 401k contribution. Now, why can't he only put in $19,000?
Under 50.
Let's do something. Got Roth in the book.
That's tough. That's tough.
It is.
He has low cash flow.
A little bit, but see, I mean, he's only
But
making
it is salary,
$65,000, but he is able to save away about $35,000 for his
He
retirement.
could be paying dividends, he could be doing whatever, it's just salary.
And that's a great point. A lot of times we're running into plans where you have an S corporation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're having to have a conversation of, okay, you've got an S corp, you're showing a K1 of $250,000 or
Yeah.
$500,000,
He has money.
and your W-2 is $20,000.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not your CPA, and I'm not going to tell you what to do. And that whole disclosure. Don't look at me for those kind of answers. But we do. We talk to them about raising their W-2 to something that is more reasonable so they can take advantage of a plan
But
like this.
you can take, right, the pass-through income for compensation
For the calculation.
for the calculation?
No, you can't,
No.
unfortunately. So if you're an S corp owner
Yeah.
and you take your income, so to speak, as pass through or dividends, that's not eligible compensation for qualified plan purposes.
It's not deemed earned income and therefore it's not applicable, yes.
But I'm not saying dividends, I'm not talking about dividends, I'm saying that you did, okay, it's an S corp that at the
Right.
same time it's a cone and the whatever, $200,000 is left. I cannot use that 200,000 for that calculation?
No, you can
Not
use it
for
for the
the-
contribution, not for the calculation.
Yeah, right. So it's
So that's why we talk to them about increasing that W-2, and because they're gonna have a sweet spot. Yes, you're gonna have to pay payroll taxes on that W-2, so that's an issue. But, okay, you're gonna pay a little bit of payroll taxes, but I'm gonna save you a lot more
Yeah.
on the tax saving side, and in the process,
yeah, so it's a
save the
cost
money.
benefit analysis. And that's why we really are adamant about having all decision makers at the table.
Is that a gray area between the ERISA or is that black and white? Because I know some TPA
It's an
where we
internal
work.
revenue code.
Yeah, no,
It's
that's-
not tax,
It's,
social security.
as Jim put it earlier,
Where
that's
we
black law. That's black law. There you go, that's black law, not because I'm saying
No,
it.
there's, now, because, for example, as an S, I'm not a CPA, okay? But as an S corporation, by law, you should receive a W-2. I know a lot of S corps out there that do not issue a W-2.
Phantoms.
Right, but that's not my problem, and I'm not going to get involved in that. But W-2 is required, and that is the only thing that we can look at when it comes to benefiting from a qualified plan.
But just be aware, upon audit, if the salary compensation is not adequate.
Two things.
That's what we characterize.
Yeah, prudent man rule, exactly. Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
See it done.
I mean, you know,
Try to straighten the rules as much as
you
you
know, the
want,
nice
but
thing is, right now, the IRS is underemployed, so they're not auditing a lot of people.
Wow.
So you get away with whatever you want.
Yeah, but my family works there.
But I'll tell you what, you know, I always tell people, when the IRS comes and knocks on your door, did the guy just walk his daughter down the aisle and he's gonna slap your wrist? Or did the guy just get in a car wreck on the way to your house and he's gonna throw the book at you? It's up to them. They have all the power. And they can do some very harsh things when it comes to violating the rules.
Yeah.
We paid for an opinion in Puerto Rico, I think in 2011, and it was, you know, I don't know if it's for because, you know, our plans get qualified with our taxation, with our local IRS basically. And for S corps, this is a particular issue that it was pretty expensive opinion, and they deemed that we could use it as compensation. And to this day, every plan where we work uses a pass-through for the calculations.
So as an example, you make $1 million.
So we need to move to Puerto Rico.
Well, you know, you know, and the TPA that we use is a TPA that's in Florida that they do this in Puerto Rico, and they're the ones who got the opinion from. It's a film called McCluskey and something in Florida.
Well, something like that would absolutely require an opinion letter,
Yeah.
and you're right, if that ever did pass, they would probably take it and run with it.
Yeah.
But as the rules stand currently,
Wow.
it's not
Okay.
applicable. Thank you.
Good question. So, continuing on here with our Roth example. So again, that deferral column there represents a Roth contribution going in. The employer deposit is his contribution from an employer standpoint. Theoretically, it's probably a profit sharing contribution that's going in there. But let's see what this equates to whenever this gentleman reaches retirement in about 25 years. So again, that deferral column, it doesn't have to be all one or nothing. It can be Roth, it can be all Roth, it can be all pre-tax, or it could be a combination of both. So you can have 9,500 going in as pre-tax, 9,500 going in simultaneously as Roth if you want to. But in this particular illustration, we're looking at an all Roth contribution. And an employer deposit represents a deductible contribution for that business. So that business's taxable liability for that year is reduced by that contribution going into the retirement plan. Potential Roth balance. After 25 years, so at the age of retirement, that Roth balance has grown to $933,000, including earnings in there. So it's been in there for over that 5-year season period that we discussed. But all of that money is coming out tax-free. So that's a tax-free distribution at retirement of close to $1 million. On top of that, you have an $850,000 or distribution. That portion you will pay taxes on. That portion hasn't been taxed yet, so you will pay taxes on that portion. But the combination of the two, Gives you a close to a $2 million retirement benefit, less the taxes you're gonna pay on that employer contribution.
So, sorry, before you advance on this slide. So what we're showing here is we're giving your clients tax-free qualified income. Where else can your client get tax-free qualified income?
Life insurance.
It's the only solution I can think of. You've got two problems with that life insurance. First problem, you have to be insurable. Second problem, those premiums are not deductible. I'll give you another one. What happens if you can't pay the premium in the second year? There's a good chance you're gonna lapse that policy.
Not necessarily.
Well, right, it all depends if you're gonna overfund it. But the thing is, this plan is fully flexible. I can skip 5 years, never put a dime into it. Maybe I run into a rough patch, and then I can pick up where I left off. Now, the one thing that we've learned ever since we entered this business is a word called diversification. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you have a client that's overfunding an IUL, you know what I know about your client? They've got disposable income. So why put all your eggs in one basket? Mrs. Client, you should be doing both.
Yeah.
Great, you're doing the IUL, congratulations. I think it's a wonderful idea. I'm not here to tell you it's not. But I'm telling you, you've got disposable income. You should be doing both. Don't leave this sale on the table.
So as you see, one of the advantages here, again, Roth contribution limits, put in more in a Roth 401k plan than you can in that Roth IRA that we saw a second ago. No income limits. Again, not necessarily applicable in this instance, but overall it is. That 5-year rule applies, so not only are the contributions coming out tax-free, but also those earnings on those contributions. And again, as Jonathan pointed out, it's all about diversification. We're gonna touch real quickly here on a concept that's called a safe harbor 401k plan. And something that Jim mentioned is, if you have employees, sometimes those employees, create additional inefficiencies from a contribution standpoint, from an owner's perspective. You have to give them something, in most cases.
Good word, inefficiency.
Inefficiency, right? But in a 401k plan, a non-safe harbor 401k plan, the issues really are discrimination. So an owner can't disadvantageously have a benefit compared to his employees. So you can't discriminate in favor of the owner in a non-safe harbor 401k plan in favor of the owner compared to the employees. What a safe harbor plan does is take away some of those discrimination issues. So you're able to benefit both from that employer standpoint, you're able to save away more, but also not have some of those income or contribution restrictions on top of it. Unfortunately, for 2019, it is too late to set up these safe harbor plans. These safe harbor plans have to be established by October 1st. But again, it comes with design, and even though you can't set them up for 2019, there's still options that we can take care of for 2019, and then have that safe harbor kick in.
still have a couple of hours.
In 2020. We do have a couple of hours, and there's probably somebody emailing or calling me right now to set them up. But yeah, so again, it has to be in place for 90 days. Quick and accurate paperwork and turnaround in order for us to get them done. But unfortunately, it's a little bit too late in the year to set these bad boys up. But they are very beneficial in certain instances. So, traditional defined benefit plan. So again, as Jonathan's Venn diagram showed, you have two types of retirement savings plans. You have one that everyone's familiar with, which is a 401k plan, which the employee and the employer can both save away for that employee's retirement. First is a defined benefit plan, or your old school pension plan. So basically what this is the employer saving away some percentage of your compensation each year, accruing some benefit for you, putting that away each year for your retirement, for you to be able to retire at your retirement age, or your designated retirement age. But the employer is making that contribution. First in the 401k, you're both participating. So in these defined benefit plans, the employer is putting that money away for your retirement solely. You're not able to save away yourself. But what these plans do offer are larger tax deductions. So the limits are a lot higher in the defined benefit plan than they are in the defined contribution of 401k plans. So in certain instances, depending on your client's needs, their objectives, these traditional or these defined benefit plans can make more sense sometimes in a 401k plan. So if there's a really small employer, these profits looking to save away even more from that tax burden standpoint, these traditional plans make sense. But as Jonathan alluded to, the 401k plan, it's not mandatory that you contribute to it each year. These defined benefit plans do have to be funded. There is a funding obligation, an annual required minimum that you have to put into these each and every year. But the benefits can be worth it. So here, we're taking a look at a traditional defined benefit plan. We have an owner with 3 employees. Owner's age 46. This illustration is able to save away $116,000. That contribution is 100% tax deductible to the business. So let's say the business's profits that year were $300,000. You take this off the top, and instead of them paying taxes on $300,000 this year, they're only paying taxes on, what is that, 284 or 184 for that particular tax year. And biggest selling point is that that $116,000 that's going in, not only is that a tax deduction, but the owner gets an 87% share in this particular example. So $100,000 is going into his retirement savings account, and he's generating $116,000 tax deduction for his business.
Can I add something to that real quick?
Yeah.
So, you know, another thing we were talking about earlier, and something that Ralph pointed out, is the thing about a defined benefit plan is these contributions that you're having to give to the employees and that benefit that those employees are eventually gonna get, they only get that if they're with the company through to the end. The minute they leave and go and work for a different employer, those contributions stop. That benefit stops, it's frozen. So it might only be 87 today, but it might be more later. And also, as those incomes change, that number can change. But the point is, when you have your own business, you know you're gonna be there when you retire. The chances of your employees being there are slim and none.
But you still have to pay out their accrued benefit.
You do, but the money's already in there.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
That does not revert back to the employer, those dollars go out of the plan eventually.
If the benefits inside outperform, it does. It goes back into the plan and it's used for future benefit.
Yeah, but their accrued benefit, they still, their vested benefit, you're gonna write them a check as those employees.
Absolutely. That's a requirement. of the
Right, but the
budget.
key word there was vested.
Right.
And that's a good point too. If they leave before they're vested, they don't get it.
They don't get it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's pros and cons here, guys, but that's why we have that conversation. You know, we bring your client to the table, we bring your CP to the table, we discuss these options with them, and we wanna make sure that before they sign on a dotted line, that it's something that they're comfortable with and it's suitable for them. Like this traditional DB plan, it's not for every client.
No, you gotta watch these because we've got a doctor in Austin right now. and They hired another doctor, she's a dentist. And she's got an accrued benefit right now of about $600,000. And this employer, this owner is pissed. Because he wasn't kept surprised what his accrued balances were, or he wasn't paying attention.
They doesn't have to fork out any extra dollars. It's already.
Yeah, but he's looking how much his got, how much she has.
So you changed the plan design.
Yeah, we did, but damage is done.
Cause you
It's
didn't like
already
the tax
there.
deductions?
It's already there.
Yeah. That's
So
a
the
good
plan is
point.
frozen right now, they froze all the accruals, and the only contributions he's making goes to his accrued benefits, so
So
it's, you
it's
gotta be careful with these types of plans.
You have to be careful with any investment.
Yeah, but I mean, what really drives these numbers is your employees, so when you're hiring somebody, it's gonna come in, it's gotta come into the employer's mind, you know, if I'm 46, I'm not gonna hire.
Well, we do our due diligence. We make sure that it meets the client's needs as you do yours.
Well, it's spot for the start. You know, I mean, if nothing else, what we're presenting is an option here.
Sure.
So we just wanna educate them on what the possibilities are. You know, as I mentioned, if it doesn't make sense for that particular client, we move on to something else. But in this case, it worked out pretty well for this client and the agent as well. Example of contribution flexibility. So as you saw, there's $160,000 contribution that's going in this year. But the traditional DB plans do have a little flexibility. They have some wiggle room. So they have a minimum and a maximum that you can choose to fund within. You know, so you're not set at that $116,000 contribution level annually. You can reduce that contribution in future years, or you can increase it. So you have a little window that you can fund within. So it does create a little funding flexibility for the client. So in that particular example, you know, he chose initially to put in 116. So we're gonna take another look at a different funding arrangement or different funding decision on his part. So his minimum that year was actually $55,000. He could put in as low as 55. He could have put in as high as 145. So here, we're gonna take a look at what that does to future contribution limits whenever he does choose the maximum funding. So again, with these defined benefit plans, what we're trying to do is create a specific amount at retirement. And so each year, we have to fund it to stay on target to reach that benefit at retirement. So we have to make sure there's a bucket of money at the end, to pay that accrued benefit for that employee, that owner, whoever's receiving benefits in the plan. So the question is, how much do I put in each year? Well, you put in as much as you can, theoretically, or how much you need to. So here, really here, saying I wanna create an even larger tax deduction, I'm gonna fund it as much as I can. So it puts in 145 in that first year. Let's take a look at what happens to that funding in the second year. The second year, because he max funded in year one, that minimum drops all the way down to $477. So theoretically, if he wanted to, he could put in as little as $477 and still stay on target to meet his funding requirements. He can put it up to $155. So the maximum did increase just slightly. But he chose to stay on par with what he did the year before. It worked out for him in year one, hey, why not do it again in year two? But in year three, what happens? That minimum goes all the way down to 0. So theoretically, if he wanted to, he could put in 0, and he did choose to put in 0 in year 3. Now, we would never recommend doing this. Why not, John?
Basically, what happens is if you put in 0 this year, that minimum in year 4,
It's gonna shoot all the way back up. So while you can fund it, we always suggest funding it, because it just makes more sense. It gives you even more flexibility in those later years.
put
Now,
something in
granted,
to keep that cushion.
to keep that cushion.
10,000, 15,000, something.
But this is an option. So that's kind of how the funding works periodically as you move forward in these plans.
So is it, I would assume if you kept doing the maximum, and I'm assuming it depends on the market performance as well, right?
Right.
That you could be overfunded?
Oh, yeah.
So, right, so Ralph's question is, what happens if you keep funding maximum? And the plan has a limit on how much money can go inside of it. It has a limit of how big of a benefit it can pay out. Once you reach that limit, you're correct. At that point, you have to stop funding the plan.
What is
Now,
it?
there are options there.
Is there a penalty for being overfunded?
Yes, there is.
There can be, if the, on termination of the plan, if there's extra money left in, there's a reversion, yes. So there are options. Typically, I will say 99% of the time when we design these plans, the benefit formula is not a maximum. People just don't have those types of budgets.
You can up the benefit.
So we can always go in and redesign the plan, increase the budget, increase that benefit formula, and now you're not near those limits. Another option is if you don't have life insurance inside the plan, you can adopt the plan, you can amend the plan to include life insurance. And the life insurance, the fact that it's an inefficient vehicle, will absorb a lot of those assets and bring you down off of that limit. So there are options. The last thing you can do is if it's a traditional defined benefit, we can make it a 412. So typically you don't get to that, but yes, if you do, there are options and
Any
opportunities.
plethora of options, including that Venn diagram that Jonathan showed. But if you get more retirement, income that you're looking to generate, than this ED plan allows, compare with the 401k plan, put a profit sharing contribution on top of it. And you can have them both run simultaneously if you need to. So, there's a lot of options that we can play around with. The question really boils down to, what is the client's objective?
And that's what the plan administrator helps with. The plan administrator, as you're getting close to those limits, they'll inform you by letting you know what your maximum contribution allowed is for that given year.
And to discuss those 412B plans that Jonathan just brought up, I will turn it over to him. Gee, thanks.
All right, so, we just looked at these slides really quickly on the ability to contribute to defined benefit plans. And, one of the reasons why defined benefit plans started going away, you saw it in the news, that all these defined benefits are being terminated. Well, it's because traditional defined benefit plans, before the law was changed, you had to put in the same amount every year. They were fixed. Now with the law changes, they're flexible, and that's what that illustration shows, is you can now have a range of contributions into a defined benefit plan, making them a lot more attractive, and the amount of defined benefit plans being written today is definitely on an upturn because of that flexibility. People feel comfortable knowing there's flexibility. If I tell you you've got to give me $1 million for 10 years, that's a big commitment. If I tell you there's flexibility in that commitment, doesn't that set you at ease a little bit? So defined benefit plans are making a big comeback, and the cash balance plan falls into that group. But the question is, what happens if you need more? I love it when a client asks somebody to do more, right? So we have another option, and that's called the 412 plan. What a 412 plan is, it's a defined benefit plan. It's what is known as a fully insured or fully guaranteed defined benefit plan. So one of the things it keeps from the traditional side or from the old plans is now we're looking at fixed contributions. The reason why a 412 plan is guaranteed is because the investments are fixed. If we're using just an annuity plan, it's a fixed annuity. If we add life insurance to the plan, it's whole life insurance. All of these products are guaranteed. If I'm guaranteeing my side, you have to guarantee yours, meaning that
If
contribution.
you've got a client that's got an overfunded defined benefit plan,
Yeah.
bring it into a 412B.
Mm-hmm.
Amending it to 412.
Because the thing about the 412 is, I mean, your asset, your top numbers are not gonna change. Meaning if I say that your max benefit of retirement is $2 million, it's $2 million.
Well, if it's 3 million.
Right, and those are actuarial calculations that come out. The thing about the 412 is the rate of return inside of a 412 plan. I mean, the rate of return of a fixed annuity versus the S&P 500. See where I'm going? So the assets don't climb as quickly.
Excuse me.
Yes.
So we're fixing the 50,510 because it's a whole life, and what we're gonna be moving is the annuity year after year or not?
So, but all of it is fixed. When I show you the total contribution, let's call that $200,000, right? Call me a liar.
But that could change every year?
No.
No. The only reason it would change is if something changed within the plan, meaning your income changed or personnel. You got rid of somebody, you added somebody. Something to that effect. But no, those numbers are fixed.
Yeah, as long as the variables change, the calculation stays the same. So unless those variables change at some point, this calculation is gonna produce the same results each year.
Right.
Yeah, I'm talking about the contribution to the plan, of the annuity
Right.
specific.
Right.
Stays the same.
And so your benefit at retirement is made up of not only this contribution, but also your rate of return. The rate of return on these two products is fixed.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
that's,
so-
actually, that's an excellent point. So, we assume a rate of return inside of a 412 plan. And if the investments exceed that assumed rate of return, that could lower the.
That's what I-
Yes, that is correct.
And that's a group unallocated annuity, right?
Yes.
Right, and now this happens to be a fixed one versus our other, but yes, this is a fixed product.
Oh, it's a
And
fixed.
because of the investments in this, the return on them are so low, this is where we can kind of amend that traditional DB plan and create a larger tax deduction because we're gonna need a larger contribution to make up that difference in the rate of return.
Well, we can use life insurance in the plan to soak up some of it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Now, what do you need, if we got a defined benefit plan, it's overfunded, what do you need? You need the actual assumptions on that existing plan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll need probably 2 or 3 years of it. But yeah, I'm actually in the process of taking over one right now.
I got one that's got over 3, it's way overfunded.
Way overfunded.
Then the best bet is probably to add a bunch of life insurance.
Well, that too, and the only other method that we're doing is it's tucked in a C corporation. And then we're gonna be taking some of the children and bringing them in as owners. So the parents died and all accrue that benefit.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and now at that point, you're creating more benefits, therefore, yeah, you're increasing the liability of the plan.
So, but yeah, I wanna do that. This could be.
I think that's a good idea. I think we should do it before year end.
We don't have the October 1 deadline, so we're good.
Hey, Jim, we'll walk you through that process and how to submit that to us in just a little bit.
So, you know, I mean, there's a couple of takeaways here. This is a 412 plan. Now, there's only one employee. Look at the contribution. We're talking about a $200,000 annual contribution. How much of a tax deduction is that? I mean, you know, if your client's in California and they're at 60%, it's a whole different ballgame, right? But if you're putting that kind of money in, you know you're in the top bracket. Let's assume it's a 40% tax bracket. Let's do easy. 40% of 200,000, right? Where can you find a small business owner an $80,000 tax deduction? Do you think you have their attention? Yes, sir.
I am assuming you're using a flat benefit formula for that age that gives you that funding requirement.
Yes.
Yes.
So you're using maximum annuity purchase rates.
So
For
the
that.
we're using an assumed rate of return. Actually, I think we're at what, 1.5 now.